Thank you very much, gentlemen. We're going to add a couple of new speakers to our discussion because we're going to hear about two very specific projects. So please, I would like to invite onto the stage to tell us about their experience Renato Reis, who is the coordinator of the Extrusion, Compounding and Advanced Materials at the Centre for Innovation in Engineering, who is going to tell us about the ValorNature project on the Spain-Portugal border. Thank you, Renato. And then Florian Lochner is the EU project manager at Health Across, who will tell us about the Health Across project in Lower Austria with its Czech neighbours. Thank you very much. Renato, I'm going to hand the floor over to you first. You've got a presentation to tell us all about what we've been talking about rather abstractly, how that works for you in practice.
So thank you, Jennifer, and thank you all for being here. So I bring a small presentation and a video, of course, that tries to explain and tries to materialize, I would say, all the questions that we have talked and discussed here. So the integration between cross borders, the innovation, how can these projects make some good to the population, to the communities between the cross borders? That's the idea. So it's more technical than practical, I would say. But I think it's a way to put it in some products and in some applications. These cooperations between the cross-border countries. Okay.
Well, let's see the presentation.
I think we have a small video.
ValorNature. La eurorregión del norte de histórica, cultural, geográfica y económica común en un área de aproximadamente 50.680 kilómetros cuadrados donde viven unos 6,4 millones de habitantes. La eurorregión se enfrenta actualmente a una serie de significativos retos. La competitividad está por debajo de la media de la Unión Europea y la gran mayoría de sus empresas son pymes. En cuanto a la dinámica de la I+D+I, la eurorregión se presenta como moderadamente innovadora, con un gasto en I+D de aproximadamente el 1,5% y el 0,94% del PIB en la eurorregión. Valores que aún están lejos del objetivo definido por la Estrategia Europa 2020 del 3% del PIB, ante los retos a los que se enfrenta la eurorregión.
So compared to the obstacles that the region is tackling, we have ValorNature that aims to contribute to new cooperation in order to create new knowledge, including the enhancement of environmental resources. With this dynamic, it will be possible to promote intensive technologies in the Euro region. The project, which has been promoted by will be using the PIEP for the Technological Center in Galicia. And SERA aims to be an innovative hub that will promote innovation at excellent levels, that will respond to the needs of the northern Portugal and Galician regions.
So okay, I will have just a few slides to explain better the video. The video was in Spanish. Okay, I hope everybody would understand the idea. Okay, so what is ValorNature? So it's the Interreg found the creation of a center, innovation center, for the excellence of sustainable materials. So the idea was to create new materials, and the idea was to pick natural resources that was thrown away, that was wasted from some other sectors, and then develop new products, new sustainable products for industrial applications. How it was done? So there are 3 centers of technology and innovation. PIEP, it's located in Guimarães, it's in the north of Portugal, and we work with polymer innovation. There are STAG, that is a Technical and Innovation Center in Automotive Industry, that is located in Orense, in the north of Galicia, north of Spain. And the other one is Xera. Xera, it's a center that works with the forestal and wood materials, and it's located in Vigo. So the cross-border was between the north of Portugal and the Galicia in Spain. And the idea was to create this center to help the development of new materials and help to put this material in the industry, okay? It was mentioned in the video, it's the competitiveness of this region, it's below the average level of EU. So we need to work. The measure of the companies are small and medium companies, so we need to improve the competitiveness of these companies. We need to improve the materials so that we have better products and better applications. So the main resources that we use it, and that's why it's called ValorNature, it's nature resources. So the huge amount of them is from the forest, okay? The other one is from the mining. We have several industry working on mining, more than 360 in Galicia and more than 300 in the north of Portugal. So we try to identify the better wastes on these already sectors producing and use them, okay? And the other one, of course, we are the north of Portugal and Galicia. Half of our border is from it's with the sea. So we need to take a look on the sea. We need to take a look what is the wastes that we can find on the sea, and then try to use it on new materials and new advanced materials for new applications. So we were able to collect 12 different wastes and different materials, all of them endogenous in the north of Portugal and Galicia. And we work with these materials, combining them with a more sustainable plastics. That's the idea, is to replace the less sustainable materials for more sustainable materials. We work on that, and then in the end, with collaboration of a few companies, we were able to at least demonstrate the final result in some technical demonstrators. We have here some examples of that. That we transport the wastes from other industries, combining with the polymers, more sustainable polymers, and then we apply them in the more advanced materials. So that's another example. And in the end, we were able to, we start with 3 technical centers and 4 companies, and we went up with more than 50 companies that we were able to join the project in the end. So in the end, I would say that the outcome, at least the technical outcome, it's more than 10 articles, more than 5 master's theses, more than 100 visits to companies. It's quite important to put people talking to each other, visiting the companies, try to understand the problems in each company, okay? Of course, 15 value endogenous resources used, more than 30 development materials ready to be used in industrial application. It's not on development, it's already finished and it's developed. And of course, we produce more than 25 technical demonstrators, but we can use the materials for a lot of them. Of course, the ecosystem now starts with 3 technical, end up with more than 50 companies, associations, universities, technical centers. Everybody come from the north of Portugal and Galicia, come to this project, and it's quite interesting. And actually, we are already working on a new project that will be the follow-up of ValorNature. So we will working now on the 2030 new project. It's the Green Hub. It's to try to scale up what we get in ValorNature.
I've just a quick question from Margot Tarot, just asking, is this cross-border cooperation facilitated by an EGTC, the European Groupings of Territorial Cooperation?
Yes, it was an Interreg project. It's a POCTEP. Yes, it was an Interreg project, of course.
Absolutely. Let me turn, Florian, to you. Tell us a bit more about Health Across. It's healthcare projects, something we've already talked a bit about on the panel, but give us about your experience about the added value that cooperation has brought.
Yeah, that's the right one. Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me here today. It's a big pleasure to give you all a short input in our Health Across initiative and showing you the added value, possible added value of Interreg projects in cross-border regions. Perhaps I would like to start with challenges of health, because challenges are the reason of why Lower Austria put such a great effort in the field of cross-border cooperation. So, of course, the biggest challenge is in health. I think it's the same in nearly every country. The limited access to financial resources, personnel, and also the challenge of providing the best medical treatment for all of the citizens, also for those living in the border regions, which are partly or mostly more rural regions. So every challenge needs a solution, the sooner the better, and one solution among many others can be cross-border cooperation, collaborating together in the border regions. Of course, it's not that solution that fits for every problem, but it can be one solution. And so every health system have their strengths and weaknesses, and you just have to find out the strengths of systems from neighboring countries, and then you can try to make use of these strengths for your own population. So going directly in the practical thing, I would like to start with our Health Across for Future project. We already have successfully implemented a lot of projects, especially with our neighboring countries in the Czech Republic, Slovakia, and also Hungary. But especially the Austrian-Czech border is very good for such cross-border cooperations, because we have the unique situation of having a so-called divided city directly on the border. So we have the city Gmünd České Velenice. It was divided within the World War by the Iron Curtain, going directly through the middle of the city. So we have the north part of the city, České Velenice, belonging to Czech Republic, and the south part of Gmünd belongs to Austria. So the citizens living in this divided city are able to use the same infrastructure in the field of schools, sport teams and so on, but a few years ago it was not that easy to share also the health infrastructure, and that was the initial starting point of our initiative back in 2006, 2007, to start working on this cross-border issue in the field of health. And so our Health Across the Future project is already the third project in this region, directly implemented in this divided city. And our aim was to plan a primary healthcare center located directly on the border, on the Austrian-Czech border, and which can be used from both sides of the border, so from Czech people and also from Austrian people. And we did, within our Health Across the Future project, we had, of course, a lot of project pillars, but one of the main pillars was to do the planning of the construction, planning of the organization, of the financing and so on. And besides that, we, of course, was in need of financial, of money, and so we were thinking about some European possibilities of financing this primary healthcare center. And at the end, we got 100% funding out of the European Fund for the Rural Development. So that's one lesson perhaps I would like to give all of you. Sometimes it's necessary to not only think of one project fund, but perhaps it's possible to combine at least two funds together for improving the situation of everybody and for keeping the best out of the project. And so about nearly 2 years after we had our opening ceremony of the primary healthcare center, we are totally full, and we are currently thinking about extending our primary healthcare center, because doctors are very impressed about working together under one roof. Doctors, nurses, therapists, and also patients from Czech Republic and Austria are really loving this situation. So it was really, we were able to improve the situation for Austrians and Czech people in this border region. That's a direct added value of an Interreg project. And perhaps another practical project we implemented together with Czech Republic was, we called it Jointly Healthy Together. It's a bit, the translation in English is a bit not sound so great as in German. It was about, so we knew that we were not able to treat women suffering on endometriosis on the highest level in Lower Austria. So perhaps for all those who don't know what I'm speaking about, endometriosis is a female disease which can lead to heavy pain and, in the worst case, also to childlessness. And yeah, we know that the Czech partners already had a certified center for endometriosis, and so we asked them for help within this project. And so they came to Lower Austria, to our hospital of Melk. They trained our doctors, our nurses in the field of detecting and treating endometriosis on the highest level. And yeah, so now about 2 to 3 years after the project ended, we are very proud about being also a certified center for endometriosis in the hospital of Melk. We were able to treat a lot of women suffering from this disease, and perhaps the best thing of this project is that we were able to give birth to a lot of children. And yeah, so it's sometimes you need a long breath. It's not the easiest thing to implement cross-border projects, especially not in the field of health, because you know a lot of different systems, a lot of different stakeholders, holders, players, people, institutions, politicians, insurances, companies. You have to involve, but at the end, it's worth it. And yeah, so it's perhaps one lesson I would like to mention: never give up. So sometimes you feel like, I don't Don Quixote during his fight against the windmills, but at the end, it's great output.
We have a follow-up question, Florian, for you, asking about the sustainability of the hospital and whether country authorities are ready to take over and finance the hospital in the future.
The sustainability of the primary healthcare center, I guess. Yeah, it's total sustainable. It's running and financed by the insurance companies, by the money they get for the treatment. So it's, yeah, we don't have to pay anything for this.
Good. Another question that I'm seeing coming in, I'll put it to Renato and Florian, to you first, but perhaps our other guests will weigh in as well. There's a suggestion that evaluation of projects can take too long, or that the calls published in some programs is a gap up to 3 to 4 years for the programming. How can we speed up the process? And if you want, do you think, Renato, that we need to speed up the process?
Yes, it's a nice question, but it's a tricky question, because as it was mentioned, we need time to have results. We need time. If we have projects of 3 months or 6 months, we don't have time to have results. So the example that I bring here, it was a 3-4 year project. It was not possible to have results before. So the projects take time, the results take time to have it. Now we can and we must focus on evaluate properly the results, because it's critical to the next projects, what will be the path that will be followed. I think it's critical, but I think it's not possible to have good results without these 3-4 years.
Let me ask Florian, is that your assessment as well? I mean, we're talking about time, and some people want to go more faster. Is it necessary to take this reflection time?
Yes, of course. I didn't mean the question again.
How can we make the evaluation process faster? And then I asked Renato, do we need to make it faster?
Of course we do need to make it faster, but how? It's a good question. If I could answer this, I wouldn't probably not sitting here, so I don't know.
Well, Slavomir, let me ask you to address that. I mean, it's a sort of a concern that programming takes too long, and that 3 to 4 years seems like a long time. Is there any way or any need or any appetite to speed up the process?
Well, I have the same concerns about the evaluation. If you really want to show results, and for us it is important to show the results, because it's also about the policy future, the value added of the policy, and so you need some time. I mean, don't think it's really possible to do it 1 year after the project has been completed. So I don't see an easy way, an easy shortcut in this. There was also the second part of question about calls for proposals. Again, there is no one single solution for all, but normally we are looking for a sort of 3-4 calls during the financial perspective. So that on one hand, you don't do it every 6 months, which puts a lot of administrative burden on the programming authorities, but on the other hand, there is this opportunity to come up in the second or the third call, and also the second or the third call coming later in the financial perspective, give this opportunity to keep up with the developments in the region. So it can be really, focusing on something which is actual, which is pertaining to the region. So I think 3-4 calls probably it's something that is optimal.
Martin, I see you taking notes. Do you want to add a comment?
Yeah, well, particularly regarding this question on evaluation, this reminds me also some exchanges we have with the stakeholders on the ground regarding the implementation of the program periods. That is always, if this period ends in 27, we can expect that most projects will end in 28 or 29. And if we look at the external borders, even later on. But when we explain this to people who are not in our family, they say, but this is too much delay, but how can you live with that? Well, this is the best way. I think there are pros and cons, but we have the experience on the ground means that we already have a previous period programs that are overlapping somehow. But thanks to the flexibility which is applied by these type of funds, then things are quite well coordinated and everybody is aware that the framework, the time framework is what it is and not what is in the paper. So at the end, and the same happens with evaluation. We prefer to have the evaluation a little bit late, but well, because then I have to say that many, I don't know in other programs, but in Interreg, the evaluations are taken into account. I don't think that for the preparation of the regulations and programs, perhaps it is, but for the implementation of projects, for sure. At least we take this very seriously, and whenever we have the general evaluation, we analyze very well, because we always find excellent tips for our partners. So, yeah, I agree very well with this vision.
Well, thank you for the question. Let me see just at this point if there's any questions in the room. We do have microphones. If you raise your hand, you want to ask anything of any of our current crop of speakers. If not, I'll remind you again, you can go to slido.com and put in your question. Put in the hashtag EU Regions Week, and that will take you to this current session. I see there is another question on there already. Cinzia is asking a question. Florian, I think it's for you, but then I might get Paolo to comment as well. One of the most common problems in pooling healthcare services is the different costs of service across borders. How did Health Across solve this problem?
Yeah, unfortunately, this question is for me. It's probably the biggest and most complicated question. As for the Health Across our Future project, so for services within the primary healthcare center, we got a contract with the biggest health insurance company of the Czech Republic, that the costs are okay for them. So we have no problem in this setting. But of course, for treatment in the hospital, it's a bit different, because the prices differs a lot. And so we found, well, as long as the project was running, we had the possibility to finance the difference out of the project budget. And after the project ended, it's a bit complicated to negotiate together with the Czech Republic. So it's an issue we have to solve. But of course, as I said, it's not the case for the primary healthcare center. That's all done.
Paolo, I wonder perhaps could you comment on this question as well about the difficulty in reconciling the costs of services that might be different across borders?
I'm not a technician who will go into the details, but I've never heard my experts and the technicians talking of this aspect as a difficult one. To the contrary, we have been able to set up a center to make appointments that is working in the Italian and the Slovenian side of the city. It is known as the CUP, a CUP, a number that you can call to make reservations. But we have agreements regarding the costs in Friuli Venezia Giulia in compliance with the national regulation in force and the Republic of Slovenia, which, as far as I'm concerned, have really been able to overcome this problem.
Thank you very much. Now, I'm conscious of the fact we only have 10 minutes left on this session, and there's an empty chair there. We're not empty chairing anyone. It's empty for a reason, because we have a special guest arriving. But in anticipation of that, I will come back to an earlier question that we skipped over, which is on cross-border cooperation with external borders, and in particular, how you might see that developing in the future. I know, Martin, you mentioned Ukraine, Georgia, Moldova. So let me ask you, Slavomir, to focus a little bit on the Ukraine border collaboration and how a tool like Interreg can make things easier.
Well, first of all, this is very important to Ukrainians. And I think we were really surprised to see that even in the first days of war, they were still keeping contacts with us and implementing projects. So I think for them, the importance of working together with Europe is a sort of, glimpse of this better world, which stands in stark contrast with today's reality. So really, even we are getting messages, we are getting documents that were prepared even in bunkers during the artillery shelling on the Ukrainian side. Second thing is that, and I think this is interesting, that our cooperation there is not really entirely shaped by the war experience. There is a lot of cooperation between the hospitals, which of course is influenced by what's happening in the war, but there is also appetite for other forms of cooperation, which shows, I think, this value of Interreg, which is this multifaceted character, that it does many things at the same time, and that people on the border, they have appetite for different types of interaction. So it is not only about refugees, it's not only about wounded people, but it's a cooperation which has much more colors and sides. And I think thirdly, there's this big question, okay, we start accession now. What does it mean for Ukraine? What does it mean for our external border? What does it mean for cross-border cooperation? And I think on one hand, to be positive, our border with Ukraine, I'm talking here about Poland, Romania, Hungary, all of a sudden became the border which is very, very dynamic. There is a very dynamic exchange of flows of people, of goods, of business connections that makes it really fascinating to see it against the backdrop of the war. And as I mentioned, we are the only EU instrument which has institutions on the Ukrainian territory, both at the local and central level, that are up and running. So there is a question on how they can be used in a broader context of reconstruction of Ukraine, or post-war reconstruction of Ukraine. And I think that we could do probably more than we were used to it, but it remains to be seen what this more could be.
Well, Martin and Paolo, I'm going to ask you just both briefly, do you think the Interreg instrument is flexible enough, agile enough to deal with a situation like the war in Ukraine that is obviously very demanding and challenging? Martin, yes, please.
Well, I think that in absolute terms, Interreg is very flexible. But that we are dealing with a very particular way of cooperation. Probably we will need more. It's the same case with simplification. The question is, I'm not sure how far can we go with simplification, because there has been an enormous effort so far. And when we go to the particular case of the cooperation with Ukraine, there perhaps the main difficulty is not the simplification of the programs or whatever, but more to put this cooperation in a higher level. There is a general demand that looking at the experience of the last 30 years, we should have a cross-border perspective on any policy. We would like that the cross-border cooperation would be a cross-cutting issue in all policies, particularly energy or healthcare or public services in general, transport, taking into account crossing the border not only for the big transport line, but the secondary network in cross-border areas where, thanks to B solutions, we have found a lot of things, a lot of obstacles. So with Ukraine, the same. The cross-border cooperation could be an excellent instrument to prepare the accession to the EU, not taking into account now the situation of war, but particularly the western regions of Ukraine. They are well trained in cooperation, so they need stronger programs, probably an adaptation, and this is happening, an adaptation of the programs to the current situation in which Russia has been excluded, whatever, but also to take this opportunity to involve in the debates, because Interreg is also about exchanging information and dialogue across the border on the issues energy sustainability, proper services, and again, mobility, which is a major issue. We have members in Western Ukraine, and mobility is a major issue. Anyway, if I may, I would like to drop one sentence regarding a particular aspect of external cross-border cooperation, which is also very relevant for us, and it is the regions bordering Russia. In particular, the case of Finland. Until 2 years ago, it was an excellent example of collaboration, because the part of Russia which is there is not that Russia, because it's Karelia, and the Karelians know, so the collaboration was excellent, beautiful, with very little buts. And now this border is a close border, and even Finland joined the NATO. We should also think of the future of this part of the EU, which is really being challenged right now.
Well, we have a man who is expert in that very thing joining us in the room. So I'd please like to welcome to the stage the mayor of Lviv from Ukraine, Andriy Sadovy. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for making the journey to be with us here today. We will let you catch your breath, and we'll have a look now at a video that demonstrates some of that cross-border, external border collaboration that we've been talking about. We're going to look at a video showing collaboration and cooperation and a lot of solidarity between Poland and Ukraine. So let's have a look.
There was an blink idea that we have a big building over here, very close to the border, to the Ukraine, created for the training center of the mountain rescuers. We create this building for about 35 places for refugees and for about 25 rescuers, paramedics. Another part of our help is collect the stuff from the Poland, from the Europe, some kind of medicine, some kind of foods, hygienic stuff, and we transfer it by vans through this borderline of Krashenko to the Ukraine.
Działania, jakie obejmował projekt, to budowa infrastruktury po stronie polskiej, infrastruktury skierowanej do dorosłych osób z autyzmem. Mamy świadomość tego, że właśnie w ramach projektu powstała infrastruktura, która może być zaadaptowana na takie lokum dla uchodźców. Dysponujemy 12 pokojami z łazienkami. Zaadoptowaliśmy pomieszczenia, które są pokojami, a łazienka do wykorzystania to jest łazienka na korytarzu. Wspólna. Na dzień dzisiejszy mieszka 51 osób.
In the first days, for about 2 weeks after the war, the monastery of Rawa Ruska was the place for refugees. We are involved in organizing transport of humanitarian aid to Ukraine, also to monastery, our twin monastery in Rawa Ruska, which is hub. Also the stock of humanitarian aid.
Our partner, the vocational school number 5 from Chernivtsi, they are hosting right now 400 people, refugees from the conflict area. We are organizing every week a support group for mothers, refugees from Ukraine, to identify first needs, what they really need, to stay in Suceava. Currently, upstairs, we have an after school. There are coming like 50 children with age between 6 and 14 years old. And we are offering languages training based on English and Romanian. Also, they have an arts class.
Ștefan cel Mare University of Suceava was involved from the beginning of this crisis, refugee crisis and the war in Ukraine. We organize a refugee center. Right now we have more than 10,000 nights offered to the refugees from Ukraine. It's important to provide each individual with some donations. So we open the store here at the observatory, astronomical observatory, and they come and choose every day 10 products per family member for everyday use. That was an important effort, and this effort still continues.
So, Andrei, I think we've saved the most striking example until last. So the final word really will go to you to explain to us, with war raging in your home country, to what extent cooperation with the EU, particularly on these borders with your near neighbours, is important, and what does it mean to a city like Lviv?
Good afternoon. Thank you for the invitation. I am late, I'm sorry, in Brussels traffic jam. You believe in Ukrainian victory. Ukrainian victory has two parts. One part, the occupied Ukrainian territory. Next part, rebuild Ukrainian country. If we want to rebuild Ukrainian country, we must have good collaboration between countries, democratic countries, and between cities. Ukrainian government have good collaboration with government in different countries in Europe. But for me, very important, have collaboration with cities, cities to cities, region to region. It is bedrock our victory, next step. Let me give you a few examples. 5 million internally displaced people passed through Lviv during Russian invasion. We had days when Lviv hosted 2 million per day. All families in my city hosted IDPs. Today we hosted 150,000 IDPs. But all time I have support from our twin cities. And every day Lviv hosted wounded, civilian wounded, children, women, elderly people, Ukrainian hero. But we built in Ukraine, in Lviv, ecosystem of humanity unbroken. Together with city Freiburg, city Würzburg, city Vilnius, city Warsaw, city Reykjavik. It is very, very important collaboration, but I am mayor, I am not doctor, but today I have huge responsibility about good quality surgery, about temporary, permanent prosthetics, about psychological, physical, social rehabilitation, about we look for a new job for our hero. It is a huge project, but collaboration with our twin city very important for my city. And every week we hosted in Lviv delegation from different Ukrainian city. We have special program, residents, architecture residents, medical residents, ecological, economic residents, and we inspire Ukrainian city. We demonstrate tangible result. I think Lviv, it is good city for build special bridge. Europe, Lviv. 2025, Lviv will host a European Youth Capital. It's a very important event.
But if we expand our collaboration with Ukrainian cities through Lviv, we will have a tangible result very quickly. But my message, very, very simple. We need collaboration. We need different advisor, example, supervision. It is very, very important for Ukrainian city, but every day we have stress. Every day in my city we have funeral ceremony. 30,000 my citizens today in front line. You must understand, it's not easy. But I must think about current situation and I must think about future. Current situation, support internally displaced people, support wounded, support my citizens, and think about future. Our victory, it is collaboration with European cities, European region. I am ready to give you maximum information about our project residential in Lviv. Welcome, only together. And you must believe in our victory. We must build our victory together. Only victory, never give up. Thank you.
Well, Andrei, I'm not going to try and top that. That was a fantastic way to end our session. I think we do wish you victory. I think that goes for everyone from the EU side to the Ukraine side. Thank you very much to all our speakers for your great input, looking in at those really quite good detail on some of those projects. Thank you to everyone who's joined us for your questions, some of them provocative, some of them very leading and allowing us to say what we needed to get across about the importance of breaking barriers to cross-border cooperation, be that within the EU and on our external borders with our friends just outside the EU. So thank you very much. Another big warm round of applause for all our speakers. And with that, we'll end the session. Please go grab some food from the food trucks, network.